Hi everyone and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. Hope you're all having a great week. I just had a conversation with Vidovitz. It was very interesting, very hilarious at some points. If you want to watch it, the link is below in the description. That's all I have to say. Actually not. I have a lot to say and it gets very nasty because we are talking about paradise in Islam. It gets nasty because paradise in Islam is very much about 7th century Arab sex fantasies, and also about other weird things like slavery. It's some weird form of slavery. You have those sex slaves that are only created for the Muslims, who serve the Muslims completely with their vaginas and their breasts. And you also have beautiful looking little weird boys who are also your mindless servants in heaven. That is the Islamic heaven. You live for nothing. You are just there. You drink, you have sex orgies, and you worship Allah. And that's it. There is absolutely no point. What's even the purpose? Who even wants to go to that place? What is even the point? Before I get into ranting about that, let's come to our topic. If you discuss Islam with moderate Muslims, also known as Muslims who don't follow their religion properly, they will usually try to destroy your well-substantiated arguments by telling you that the 72 virgins concept doesn't define Islam. Some might even say that it doesn't exist in Islam, and others might even go as far as to tell you that the concept of sex virgins does not exist in Islam. The concept of virgins in Islam doesn't just come from hadith or from scholarly opinions or any other nonsense like that. It comes directly from the biggest source of nonsense, the Quran. The Quran describes them as virgins who are lovers and friends to Muslims who go to heaven, and they all are of equal age. It further describes them as full-breasted companions of equal age, and many other things. So the Quran mentions virgins, also called huris. The Quran even dedicates few verses from its most poetic chapter, chapter 55, to those virgins. Now, there are some reformists, Quranists, and other bullshitters who try to reinterpret those verses and try to tell you that the Quran actually means something different. But I made a video long ago about what I think of those bullshitters. The Quran doesn't have any different meaning, any different reinterpretation. It clearly talks about virgins in heaven that are created by God for the Muslim believers that you can have sex with completely, freely, because they have no free will. The Quran clearly speaks of full-breasted, beautiful, untouched, big-eyed virgins. And Hadith even further described them as so beautiful, pure, and transparent that the marrow of the bones will be seen through the bones and flesh. What a peculiar imagination. They will also be very young virgins, created right out of the oven by Allah only for the believers. So they won't be just random women among us who live in this world. So if you are a woman and if you are a female, don't be sad. You won't be one of those celestial virgins, trust me. Hadith also say that there will be no one without a wife in paradise. And this wife refers to those mindless, absurd creatures that you can have unlimited sex with, not to regular wives. Men will have their earthly wives as well, and the wife, or the 4 wives, who share their husband with different wives already, will also have to share their husbands with so many sex slaves. But that is nothing new, because Islam allows sex slavery anyway, so. That's not all. Hadith also say that men will be given the sexual strength of 100 men. So if you ever wondered how a man will have sex with 72 virgins and also his wives, don't worry, you will have the strength of 100 men. What is also very messed up is the emphasis on virginity. The virgins, according to Islam, that you have sex with in paradise will stay virgins even when you have sex with them. Can you think about how sick and weird and I don't know. The first thing that I think about when I look at all these details that are a fundamental part of Islam is what do women even get from lovingly following this religion so much? So I checked a bit what different people, what different women from different places of the world think, and what they say online about it. And you would be surprised seeing how much many Muslim women are totally comfortable with the fact that Islam basically promises a paradise which is a sex fantasy for men, not for women. I even saw a Muslim woman saying something like, I don't want my husband to have multiple virgins and multiple wives in heaven. How can I deal with this? And then other people, other Muslim women who want to comfort her, come and say things like you will have no feeling of jealousy in paradise, and Allah knows best, and He is not unjust. That apparently solves the problem. Both of these points are completely Islamic. According to Islam, in heaven, you will be free of negative feelings such as anger, jealousy, or fear, and you will also be free of physical needs, according to narrations. If Muslims in heaven don't have such needs, then why promise them a paradise in which they can have unlimited sex with some stupid slaves? I would really try to go into this and understand it much further, but as we said already, Islam is nonsense. Some people even try to rationalize and try to explain that women are rewarded in heaven as well. And they try to take little implications from the Quran and the Hadith and explain that women will also be rewarded equally in paradise, not just men. But in the Quran and the Hadith, there is basically nothing really clear about the great rewards for women, when it is so clear that the Quran mentions it over 3 times that men will have their little sex slaves in paradise. Now, Islamic sources also talk about some weird things like beautiful servant boys for the Muslims in paradise. That's not really sexual. Historians find that servants in Arabia at that time were usually boys that were described as beautiful. But from here you can also see that Islam has a very Arab influence, and it had the Arab influence from the very beginning, which means that Islam is not a global religion. The emphasis on the boys being so beautiful is also quite weird. You can just play with your imagination about that a bit. That said, we have a very special and beautiful title for this video. So let's jump into the best thing about Islam. 72 juicy virgins. Many people in the West and their Muslim allies try to sell the notion that the 72 virgin concept is solely based on a misunderstanding, and that Islamophobic people want to take that story and want to give it more credibility in order to discredit Islam. I mean, that's very believable, isn't it? People oppose Islam and hate Islam, and we are talking about hateful people like this bastard here. And of course they will feed you stories that suit their narrative, just to make you hate Islam. Unfortunately, that's not the case. There are a lot of unauthentic sources about the 72 virgins in Islam. But there are just as many sources about the 72 virgins that are completely authentic and a fundamental part of Islam. We can just go ahead and read a hadith that confirms that heaven is a beautiful place for people who fight and die for Allah. The Messenger of Allah said, "There are 6 things with Allah for the martyr. He is forgiven with the first flow of blood. He is shown his place in paradise. He is protected from punishment in the grave, secured from the greatest terror. The crown of dignity is placed upon his head, and its gems are better than the world and what is in it. He is married to 72 wives along Al-Huril Ain of paradise, and he may intercede for 70 of his close relatives." This hadith has been graded Hasan. Hasan means good, and in hadith terminology, Hasan hadith are seen as reliable and a firm evidence for any matter they are talking about. If you have any doubts about it, just go online and research this topic to death. Along with that, I will also give you a link to Wiki Islam that explains perfectly the authenticity of narrations related to 72 virgins. As you have seen in the hadith, martyrs are something like the most important people in Islam. They have so many privileges that other people don't have, no matter what they do. And they are rewarded with 72 juicy, mindless servants just for their sexual needs. Normal people get 2 minimum, and martyrs get 72 directly. What else is this, if it is not a religion that glorifies war, bloodshed, slavery, and the sexual fantasies of men? What religion that is called peaceful today would give its greatest status to people who raise the sword and fight against people and kill people, and who die? A religion that is by far more peaceful would be a religion that teaches its believers not to live and not to die with the sword. Or a religion that teaches to stay away from conflict altogether, no matter for what purpose. You can probably associate these features with some religions, but definitely not with Islam. So if you still believe in Islam, or if you think that Islam is a totally misunderstood, totally beautiful and peaceful and nice religion, Please think about all these things that we just talked about. I will give links to all the sources below in the description so that even the laziest person who doesn't want to think further about it can just go below there and look at things himself. If you stay honest to yourself all along, and if you really research this thoroughly, then you should come to the conclusion that there is probably something terribly wrong with this religion. Thank you for watching. If you like this video and my cause, please do not forget to like, to share and to subscribe for the sake of 72 virgins. My channel is not monetized and never will be, so you can watch it without ads. If you want to support me and my cause, you can do so on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thank you very, very much. I will see you on Tuesday with a Q&A session. You can submit your questions there and I will try to answer as much as possible. Thank you very much, my dear friends, and stay away from juicy virgin Islam.